Afternoon to the graveyard shift. Everybody sleeping? I hope you didn't have dessert. Okay. All right. Well, we're here to talk to you about something very special. We're here to talk to you about how we plan to save people's lives and improve people's lives while being very kind to the planet. We heard about sustainability. It's so fitting that we're here during the week of COP28, and Hatem had a lot to say this morning. We can take things a step further. So we're here to talk about HAPS, and for those of you who don't know what HAPS are, high altitude platform stations, there's different categories of HAPS. There's HAPS that are what is called lighter than air. Lighter than air is balloons and blimps. And if you've been following the news and CNN in particular, you probably have heard a story about a balloon from a certain country that went over a certain country that was later shut down. So those things tend to go wherever they want to, very difficult to control them. But the other category is called heavier than air, and it's basically aircraft. And our aircraft is called Zephyr, or in Arabic, Zephyr. And this is a very fascinating technology, and we'll talk more about it. We'll introduce Zephyr in a minute. But before we do that, let's talk about the problem statement. What is the problem that we're trying to solve? And basically, there is so many people on this planet that are still either unconnected or very poorly connected, many of these people. And at the same time, the environment and the planet is taking a beating. You know, we have all kinds of issues with forest fires, with earthquakes, with climate. So what we're trying to do is really to solve both problems, the environmental problem and the connectivity problem. Now, on the terrestrial side, the terrestrial technologies and even the satellite-based technologies, or both, have limitations in serving some of those unconnected people. They have either technological limitations or economical limitations. We're trying to solve both of these problems with HAPS. So we'll look at a short video here that explains a bit more of the technology.
Wingspan 25 meters and weighing only 75 kilos. 100% solar electric, operating above 60,000 feet. A record-breaking 64 days in the stratosphere, non-stop. With our ambitions set on much more, the AALTO Zephyr high-altitude platform station. Think the unthinkable, and it's now achievable. Zephyr can act as a telecommunications tower in the sky. Astonishingly high coverage. Ultra-low latency. Seamless infrastructure for MNOs to connect people from the stratosphere. Extending the radio access network with our coverage as a service approach. Helping to bridge the digital divide, to connect the unconnected and the underserved in ways not possible before, enabling new capabilities for governments to use stratospheric connectivity and Earth observation to monitor borders, enforce law and order, and manage disasters. Game-changing, payload-agnostic technology to help us build a better stratospheric future. The future is stratospheric.
The future is truly stratospheric. And Zephyr is an aircraft that is 25 meters as a wingspan, yet it weighs less than I do. I've never thought I would say something like this about an aircraft. It's a very light aircraft that is 100% solar powered. So when we talk about sustainability, it's fully solar powered. It just operates on the power of the sun. And it flies at about 20 kilometers, or between 60 and 80,000 feet in the stratosphere. That's the definition of the stratosphere. This is an aircraft that has been in development by a company well known called Airbus, and Airbus knows how to build aircraft. They've been working on this for over 20 years, and they have developed this fantastic machine that can do so many different things. So now that we have met the aircraft, and by the way, this is a bit of a video of the Zephyr flying in the stratosphere at 70,000 feet. What can it do? What do we use it for? And how do we launch it? This is how we launch it. It's like a paper plane. This is an aircraft, again, that is 75 kilograms. It just takes 2 or 3 people to throw it up in the air. It doesn't require fuel to put in a rocket to send up to space. Completely sustainable. So what can we do with it? Well, the idea is that there are 3 market segments that we are going to be pursuing with this aircraft and with this technology. The first one is the mobile connectivity. And the capability of this aircraft, when we put a payload on it on the bottom of it, is to provide direct-to-device services in 5G, very low latency, direct to an end-user device. Those are 5G services that make the aircraft look exactly like a tower in the sky or a flying cell on wheels. This is a service that will be in full 4G, 5G that will serve subscribers in remote areas and rural areas for greenfield coverage, for white spot reduction, for coverage augmentation, or disaster recovery. We know all of these use cases in this region. Of course, the IoT segment is an important segment for us as well in connectivity. The second major use case is Earth observation. Basically, that's putting a payload on the aircraft that looks like a camera that can take images of the Earth for use cases like precision agriculture, like forest fire management, mapping. And we'll talk more about these in a minute. And then the government sector. The government sector is going to be a big user, especially when it relates to things like border protection. How does it work? Basically, we're sitting in Dubai here. Obviously, Etisalat is the provider of telecom infrastructure. With terrestrial towers, they provide all the services that you guys are connected to today. But as you start moving into more rural and remote areas, coverage does not exist, either because of technical limitations or because of economical limitations. You know, it doesn't make sense, and it's not justified sometimes to put infrastructure where there's not many people. You don't get your return on your investment. This is where we come in. We come in to expand the network of mobile operators to those rural and remote areas where the population densities is not very high. Improving the quality of service, improving the offering. Of course, you hear of satellite stuff. The satellite stuff is for this ultra-remote, you know, someone on top of a mountain somewhere or a farm somewhere. How does it fare in terms of other technologies? Well, look, the word is complementary. There's not one technology that is perfect for everything. But for rural and remote areas in particular, the alignment between the technology capabilities and the economics. Let's say that word again, because that's a very important word. I spent years of my life in satellite trying to serve the mobile industry. From a technology point of view, sometimes it's possible, but what you miss is this alignment with the economics. So again, the alignment between the economics and the technical capabilities are perfect with HAPS in order to serve the rural and remote areas. So, you know, you have the satellite on one hand that can give you more coverage, but less technical capabilities, and it's more expensive and it goes to a dish. On the other hand, you have the terrestrial networks that are a lot cheaper, but their coverage is very limited. They're good for density, for where populations are dense. There's that layer in between where HAPS is going to be optimized. Of course, the aircraft, when you look at the aircraft, it replaces the whole cell tower. So the cell tower, you know, you have the steel, you have the power, you have the fiber or the microwave backhaul, and then you have the radio. The aircraft replaces all of this, so doesn't burn any fuel, doesn't burn any electricity, any diesel, and it doesn't require a dish on top of that steel frame. You don't have to, you know, go through a river in order to get the steel somewhere. So it's very capable, it's very flexible. And the offering that we have is such that we will sell this to the MNOs just like they buy a tower today. So they buy a tower from a tower co with a certain set of economics or a business model, and it would be exactly the same. Every aircraft can cover about 7,500 square kilometers on the ground. Within that coverage area, if you want to cover it with terrestrial towers, you need anywhere between 80 and 250 towers, depending on the terrain. So where coverage as a service is what is required rather than bandwidth, this is where HAPS are fully optimized. Now, the other element is Earth observation. And that's a really interesting capability, because today Earth observation is done by satellite. And satellite takes an image, comes back, goes around the world, comes back in half a day or 2 days later to take another image. And that takes away the ability to look at change, at what is changing on the ground, which is an important element when you're doing Earth observation. Usually with satellite, you have either the compromise of high revisit rates, so satellites that take images more frequently, or high resolution. You cannot get both. With HAPS, because you're able to stay in the same location over the same location, you're closer to the Earth, you get the very high resolution and the ability to loiter or to be persistent over the same location. You're also able to follow a certain vehicle on the ground and trace what you're looking for. So this ability is making this technology, and what you've seen the videos here running, get an example of the type of resolution that we're looking at with HAPS. And this is not the latest product. The latest product is even better resolution. It's military-grade resolution with commercial capabilities. And the possibilities are endless in terms of the payloads that you can put. I just shared a couple examples of these. Very importantly, and this is where we are very proud of the fact that this is completely sustainable. Everything about it is sustainable. It starts as sustainable. It's not like we're trying to take something and turn it into sustainable. It just runs over the power of the sun. And when we look at the 16 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, we're very proud that with each one of these, we are completely aligned. I do invite you to look into this technology. This is not a science fiction project. This is something that is happening today. We actually have customers today still on the government side, because we haven't basically started launching our services in a full way yet. That will be coming over the next 2 years. But until then, we are established with some government customers, and we are offering some services already. This is very, very interesting technology. It's the future. It's a layer that is not occupied by anybody, and we're looking to take connectivity stratospheric. Thank you.